Thank you, Griffith Franks, for joining me today. So why don't you start with just telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got into music and all that good stuff.
So I am a lifelong musician. I started playing piano when I was 5. My dad taught me, and he is also a songwriter and a composer and a producer, and I just was around music all the time. And when I was about 11, I also started singing, and singing sort of became my main instrument. And so I played and sang, but I actually didn't really get into songwriting until I was in college when my girlfriend broke up with me and totally devastated me. And that suddenly I was like, oh my God, these feelings. And then I started listening to music, and suddenly the songs made sense to me. They're going through the same thing that I'm going through, and that made me go, oh yeah, that's why people write songs. I want to do that too. So I started to become a songwriter. So
Did that experience kind of like mark how you are a songwriter, like your writing process, like the style that you chose to do, or did that kind of evolve over time?
I was always around pop music. I was also around classical music, and I would play classical piano, and my dad would take us to classical concerts and a little bit of jazz. But definitely tons and tons of pop music as I was growing up. So it really was sort of just came to me that I wanted to write pop music, and that's my main focus. And I do write other things, like a little bit of theater and other stuff like that. But definitely, I am drawn to pop music. It's just the sort of challenge and the excitement of having to write a story in such a small amount of time. I really enjoy finding the way to do that effectively and to do it cleverly, and also to bring across very, very real emotions. It's always just a fun thing for me.
So in your kind of career span, like what role has technology, social media played in like your brand and kind of your ability to grow a fan base?
So I have the sort of unique perspective of having been around the industry for a while. So I, I kind of grew up with music pre-social media, and then social media became part of the whole situation as I, grew into my own and began to develop my own voice. And it was a lot of learning, because I'm a very private person, so I'm not necessarily wanting to be like, this is what I'm doing right now. That's not my automatic. For me, it's very difficult for me to go, I don't want people to know how I feel today. I want that to come across in the song. However, as it's developed and it's coming more, an essential part of what every artist is doing, which I think is somewhat for the better, because it really, a song is very much about vulnerability and being able to bring across something that is very, very personal, which people relate to. It's all a part of the same story. So, it's a continuation of that, I think.
So do you have anything that you're currently working on, you're planning on working on in 2020?
So for 2020, I am planning on releasing more of my own stuff. Writing all the time, and just keeping on the path. I mean, the biggest thing about the music industry is that you just never know what could happen, how it could happen, when it might happen. So I think that the phrase is inspiration will find you working, and I think that's really, really true. And also, luck is where preparation and opportunity meet. So it's making sure that as much as you can, you're prepared to meet any circumstance, because you never know when something might happen that could change your life. So
how did you find out about Songtrust, and what was kind of the ultimate decision for you to use us as a publishing administrator?
When I was having some momentum in the songs that I was writing, and I luckily had a good friend of mine who was very well versed in how music publishing works and collections work, and he was like, "You need to find an administrator now." I went, "Oh, okay. How does that work?" And then he explained to me about 20 times how, master versus publishing and the mechanicals versus performance. And now I think I have somewhat of a good idea of it, but it really took a lot to understand that. And I think most, songwriters, it's very confusing, because it's like, wait, there's So there's the master side of the performance, but then there's also this, and then PROs collect that, but then you can't collect with that, you know. So I found Songtrust, you know, through recommendation, and I really liked it. And when I was signing up and registering everything, Songtrust was so helpful and so communicative. And through the process of my songs, you know, gaining a lot of traction and getting more streams that I could have possibly imagined. I think one of my songs, you know, Boomerang, is that I wrote on, is sitting almost at like 800 million streams. I couldn't have done it without Songtrust, because they were just always there to help me understand, especially with some difficulties that arose, because let's face it, this is still a very, very new way of doing things, and especially in the YouTube sphere, where it's constantly changing, and a lot of the collection mechanisms are, you know, they're one way and then they're another, and then, you know, then there's international, and we barely have access to that. So Songtrust has just been essential in helping me to not only understand it, but to make sure that all my bases are covered.